Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 1 of the Halloween Craft Countdown for 2025. Every day for the next 20 days, I'm going to be sharing a brand new Halloween-themed paper craft project with you to make with your Cricut or other type of digital cutting machine. If you don't have a digital cutting machine, that's okay. Hand cutting versions are included for every project too that can be cut with scissors or a craft knife. Today's project might make you a little bit worried about the next 20 days, but don't worry, we're kicking things off with a bang, and then they'll be a little bit simpler from tomorrow onwards. Have I hyped it up enough? Are you ready? I hope you've got a lot of cardstock. Here it is. Ta-da! This is today's project. It is so big, and it's a countdown calendar that you can use to count down all the days throughout October until it gets to Halloween. This design was inspired by a Christmas version that we released back in 2022, which you can see on the screen now. This was one of our most popular designs of all time, so we thought this year we'll bring it back but make it spooky. This giant sign measures 27 inches wide and 12 inches tall, but don't worry, it can still be cut on your Cricut mat using A4, US letter, or 12 by 12 cardstock, because the back pieces all come in sections that you then glue together. I'll walk you through all the steps in this video, including, I don't even know how I'm going to show this, it's so big, including how to make the little slidey cat that goes through every single day so you can move it, and you can't really tell far away, but hang on, let's line that up a bit better. There we go. There's a little bit of green that goes through, so as the cat moves throughout all the different days, I'm going backwards, forwards, you can see it will light up in green to show you which day you're on. This is a really fun project. It's a standout for the start of this Halloween countdown, and I really hope that you enjoy watching along with me to find out how to make it. Let's get started. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Halloween Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/HCC25. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access Bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC25 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Halloween Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. Or purchase just this design at craftwithsarah.com/products. To find the designs from this countdown, click into the Occasions filter and choose Halloween. The designs will appear here each day once they become available to buy. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, then go to Upload over on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer, or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the folder, and within there, look in 01 Cricut version. If you're using a Silhouette or a Scan and Cut, you might find one of the other file versions easier to use. For more information on that, head to craftwithsarah.com/help. Choose your type of machine from the list of options on the screen, and there are separate video tutorials in there on how to use my files with your type of machine. But for Cricut, we'll go into 01 Cricut version, and within there is a file that starts SVG-01 in the file name. Drag it in, and this is what it looks like. You'll probably see a message that it's a large image. Yes, it definitely is, so you can ignore that. Press Continue, and there's nothing to change on this screen. Just press Upload. And then it will insert the design onto your canvas. You can close out this window on the left by clicking the arrow about halfway down the page. The design should load in at 27 inches wide and 12 inches tall. If yours is different, change it to match. You might see over on the right hand side there's an error message, this exclamation mark in the red circle. This is a bug in the current version of Design Space where it's taking the size of the whole design and telling you it's too big to cut on a Cricut machine. Now, I know it's too big to cut on a Cricut as the whole design. It's 27 inches wide. So what I've done is I've cut all the pieces up into segments so it can be cut on the Cricut. However, Design Space is calculating the size of the whole image rather than the individual pieces within it. It's really simple to fix, it's just a little bit annoying. What we need to do is ungroup all the layers and then the error will magically go away. So click on the design, you've got the group selected here, then press the ungroup button at the top of the layers panel. Now that has mostly taken them all away, but I recommend looking down because you might find that some of the other groups still have that error. For me, it's only showing up on the bottom one at the minute, so I'd need to click into this one and also ungroup it. If you leave the exclamation marks, you won't be able to cut it. It will just show you an error when you try to send it to your machine. So I'll need to ungroup that one as well. It's doing better than it was a couple of days ago. When I first tried loading this in, it showed errors on pretty much all the groups. So maybe they are kind of fixing it, but not quite there yet. This design mostly loads in ready to cut, but there are a couple of layers we need to change to add either some score or some draw lines, depending on your preference. And that's to make sure when we're gluing the underside of these numbers on, we need to make sure we only glue along the very bottom, otherwise the cat isn't going to be able to fit. And these lines I'm about to show you make it so that you know exactly where to glue. We're going to look down, open up these groups, until we find the one we're looking for. Okay, so we've got our group here. It's the second one down from the top. When you open it up, you can see the numbers going along the bottom. We'll ungroup this, and then within there, we've got these 4 separate groups. Click on the first one and click the arrows next to it. And within here, you can see there's 2 layers. There's a white rectangle and then what looks like an L shape on its side. This is the one we need to change, as this will create our guidelines. What I'll do, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to hide the top numbers by clicking the eye, just so you can actually see what I'm doing. All right, so this is the L line that we were just looking at. I'll click that to select just that one layer. And then under operation, either change it to score or pen. It doesn't really matter which one you choose because it's going to be completely hidden over by the coloured layers you just saw on top. But it's just a way of knowing exactly where to glue. I'm going to go for the score option, but pen does work just fine. Then I will need to click to select that mini group, my weird L shape and the white underneath, and press attach. Attach is what tells the Cricut where to do the scoring or the drawing. You need to attach whichever one you're doing. Then I'll move on to the one underneath and then click the top layer, change it to either score or pen, and attach. A recent Design Space update has changed how attaching works. It used to be that when you attach something, it would automatically move it all the way to the top of the layers panel, which was kind of annoying because it meant you then had to drag it back into position and it made things a bit harder sometimes. I like that it now stays in the correct position. It's just something to be aware of if you haven't noticed that change before. There are a lot of Design Space updates happening at the moment. I'm trying to keep on top of them for you. All right, so then we've got the next one down, open that up. This time we've got that L shape, but it's on the other side. Change that to score or pen, click and attach. And that's all you need to change, just those 3 pieces. So nice and quick and easy. I'll turn those back on. And now this is all ready to cut. I'll press make over on the top. Now I'll separate out all the pieces. Fair warning, it's going to be a lot. All of these pieces will cut on A4 card or 12 by 12, and the majority of them should cut on US letter sized cardstock as well. So you can change the paper size in the drop downs here. and it will move things about for you. You can then click and drag if you want to move things about to take up less space. I also like to move things about where possible to have a little bit more gap between them to make it easier for the Cricut to cut. You can see if we go down, there's a lot going on in this design. It's 30 sheets of 12 by 12, and I'll be doing it from A4, so it will go up more than that because you can't fit as much on an A4 piece, obviously, as it's smaller. I imagine it will probably end up around 36 to 38 sheets. So it's a lot of cardstock. It's going to take a long time to cut, probably about 3 hours, I would estimate, if you do it all in one go. But the good thing is most of the shapes are pretty simple. So even though there's a lot of them, there's nothing really intricate that's going to take a super long time to cut. So it's not as bad as it seems, I promise. So go ahead, get everything cut out, and then we'll start the challenge of putting together a giant Halloween calendar. When you're getting your giant sign cut out, you'll end up with lots and lots of pieces. I recommend getting a dish to put all of the small pieces in as you're cutting them out, because some of them are really, really teeny tiny and you don't want to accidentally lose any of the pieces on the way, or maybe accidentally throw some of them out with your scraps. So by putting all the bits in a little pot, you know they'll all be safe and sound. When you're sticking everything together, it will be much easier if you get the various bits that make up the sign together in the right order before you start sticking. Included in your download folder is an assembly guide. Open that file up and it will tell you which pieces go with which section of the sign. For example, all of the different background pieces, and also making up each of the little houses and also the spooky tree in the middle. What I'm going to do before I start putting this together is to go and get all those pieces in order. So I'll make up each of the little houses in separate piles with all the bits in the right place. I'm not sticking anything at this point. I'm literally just lying them one on top of the other so that I know I've got all of those pieces together and that I haven't lost anything along the way. So I'm going to go and do that, get all of these little pieces into the correct piles for each of the separate houses, and then we'll see how to put together everything for the giant sign. I've now got each of the houses and the sets of trees all in their respective positions, and I'm going to start by sticking these two together, but you can do it in any order you like because all of the houses and bits to go on the top are their own little separate builds. We'll do those first to get all these little pieces out the way so that we're no longer in danger of losing any of them along the way. We'll be putting all of this giant sign together with a combination of glue and foam squares. The glue I'm using is Barely Art glue, and I also like Collal. The reason I like these two glues is they don't bend or wrinkle the card like some glues can do. The foam squares I'm using are from Dot and Dab, and I've got two in different sizes, some smaller ones which will be great for the houses, and some bigger ones which will be great for the main background of the sign, and both of these are 2mm thick. But it doesn't really matter, whatever foam squares you've got should work out absolutely fine. If yours are a bit too big to go in some of the details, you can cut them smaller with scissors. Okay, I'm going to start with these trees over here, and the dark blue piece will be stuck onto the lighter one with foam squares. Turn it upside down, get my foam, and then start putting some of these around the edge. I'm going to try and put one quite close to all of the pointy bits to make sure it'll be stuck on really securely. And then as well as going around the edge, especially on larger pieces, you want to make sure you put some in the middle of any big bits of card as well to give it stability. So as well as going around the edge like I've just done now, I would also put a few pieces in the middle here to help it be stable. Then peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. For this project especially, as there are going to be so many pieces of foam square, I recommend getting a little dish or something that you can pop those bits in to keep them out of the way and all nice and contained. And take the trees and we'll line it up and then gently drop it down. The reason for that is it means that if you're not perfectly happy with how that was positioned, you can pick it up again and move it because it hasn't actually stuck yet, it's just gently placed on top. But I am happy with that, so let's push down to stick. Then next up we've got the tree, and this will be glued on top. Just check I've got it the right way, there we go. This is very narrow in places, so be careful with your glue. You can know where to put it because of the little spiky bits on the darker layer underneath. Oops. I pushed down on that a little bit too hard. You can see my glue smushed out a little bit, but I'm not worried too much because it dries clear anyway. And then there's that one done. Okay, let's move on to the house. This is the one that appears on the left of the design, right next to where those trees are going to go. And the hardest bit on these is keeping all of the little tiny bits in the right place. I'm going to go to the bottom layer, which is this one, and you can follow the assembly guides in your download folder to make sure you've got everything written out in front of you, but I will also talk through all the layers in this video. So for this one, we've got yellow or orange. I think it's more of an orangey design on the screen, on the design space screen, but I've got this kind of rich yellowy colour to go underneath the window. So we'll turn this upside down, add a little bit around the window. I wasn't too fussed about matching the exact orange and yellow and green bits up to all the different houses. I just made sure that whichever bit I chose definitely was going to fit over the holes, and then that'll be fine because they're all slightly different. I think it might help if I zoom in a little so you're a little bit closer to what I'm doing. Alright, we've got the fence to go along here, and this will be glued on. There's an ice cream van driving around outside at the moment, so if you can hear music, that's what that is. Feels a little bit strange doing Halloween crafts with the ice cream van going around outside. Okay, there's that one, and then next up we've got this piece, which will also be glued on. I like that all these houses come as separate builds because it means that if you want to, you can use them in other projects. They'd look nice on a greetings card, for example. Just smushed my glue there. Next up, we've got the bit with the roof. But before we stick that on, we need to put the yellow and the green in place. So for this one, we've got the yellow to go around the top window, and then the long rectangle of green covers the window and the door. So you can go all the way around like that. And put the yellow over the window, and the green over the door. And then that fills in those holes nicely. Then add your foam squares to this one. Line it up, gently drop down, and then push down when you're happy. Then we've got the last big piece, but before that, we need to glue the black door on. And then we'll glue this piece on. Then we're on to the teeny tiny pieces. For all the details around the windows and the roofs and things, it's up to you if you want to glue them or use foam squares. It's completely up to you. Both will look absolutely fine. And also, when you're putting these bits on, the tops of the chimneys and the bits that go under the windows and things, don't worry too much about getting them exactly the right way round. They're all slightly different sizes, but they're very, very close. I just picked up whichever one I came to first and put it on. I wouldn't worry too much because they're so similar. I am going to try and get some foam squares under some of these, but I'll need to cut them smaller. So you can see how easy these are to cut. You can just run down them with scissors. And then we've got a bit on the chimney, a bit under the window, and another bit under that window. There'll be the bit above the door. And the bit in the roof. These are so small. And then the bit along the bottom of there, but that's a bit bigger, so that can have my regular sized foam squares. Okay, now I'm going to peel the tops off, which is extra tricky when they're this small. And then all the pieces can be stuck on top of those foam squares, or the glue if you decided to use glue. My card's textured on one side, this colour, so I'm just trying to make sure I've got the texture side facing upwards, but apart from that I'm not worrying about for example, which one of those goes in which place. They're very similar. And then that one, chimney, and finally the steps. And there's the first little house for our Halloween village, all done. Here's the second house along. This is the one with the ghost coming out of the chimney on the left. And once again, we'll move all these bits apart so that we're just left with the bottom bits. Usually I try and keep the pieces in order when I'm doing layered designs. But for this one, as there are so many small bits in all these houses, I'm moving the bits off to the side to make sure I don't lose them. And there's that one, which needs to go underneath that bit. Okay. Alright, so this is the bottom layer of this one. And then we've got a yellow square to cover the window. Turn it round. And add some glue around there. Put the yellow on. And now I'm going to have to just wait for that glue to dry because otherwise that's going to stick to my work surface. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a scrap of card that's a bit bigger than that and just glue that the other side. This was just from a random scrap I had, and then that'll cover up all that glue so then I don't have to wait for it to dry. Okay. Next up, we'll do the fence. This bit on here. Oh, you can't see. There we go. There's the fence. Then we've got this bit to glue on top. Then next up is the roof piece, this one. And we've got the black to stick behind the window this time. I'll try and get a little bit closer in so I don't have the same problem with the glue. There we go. This is a foam square layer, this one. That one there, and then the ghost. I'm going to glue the ghost on. Okay, and then we've got the front to go on, but before we do that, we need to do the door. The door is made up of green and orange. Turn the orange upside down first. Add a little bit of glue around the windows and put the green on. And then turn the purple bit over. Add some glue around there. And then put the door on, although I'm going to actually hold it the right way round to make sure I get the window where I want it to go. I think about there. And then this whole bit will be glued on top. It doesn't really matter that you've got extra levels here with those extra bits of card. It'll still all glue on fine. And now the teeny tiny foam squares make a return for all those extra details. This time I've got a chimney top underneath both of these top windows, above the door, and the roof, and then the steps. Steps and the roof are the easy ones because they're obvious which ones they're going to be. Okay, and then the chimney is the kind of shorter, rounder one. And then the other bits, it doesn't matter. Oop, dropped it. And that's house number 2 finished. Next up, we've got one that's a little bit more complicated because this is the house and the tree in one. But we can move all the bits of the tree to one side for now and only leave the bits that have got parts of the house touching. And don't worry that the tree is cut off on these underside pieces. That's because it will sit up against this house, so I didn't want it to overlap as that would then cause issues. It will all be made up with the other bits of the tree that will go on top because see that's got the spiky bits and that will sit over that house. So once again we'll go down to the bottom, which is this piece here, and then we've got the orange to go the other side of the window. Much neater with my glue that time. Excellent. Then we'll do the fence. The gravestone can go on with foam squares. Then for the blue bit of the house, turn it upside down, and the circle has a yellow square to go behind it. Then this will be glued on top. Next up is this purple piece to glue again. Then glue the ghost coming out the chimney. Next up is the roof piece, which also has the outline of the tree on it, and this one will be done with foam squares. This is a better example, this piece, of filling in the middle rather than just going around the edge, because this is the biggest bit that we've had so far. There will be bigger. So you can see I'm not just going around the edge, I will also put some foam squares in this big spot. Line it up, drop down, and I've not done a good job at that. Let's try again. It's a bit better. Still not great. Try it from a different angle. Sometimes that can help. That's better. Okay, now we've got the tiny bits for the house. Let's do those next so we don't lose them. A little bit underneath the window. This time the bit under the door is quite skinny, so stick with the small foam square. So I'm going to add 2. And then the bit above the chimney. Now on to the spooky tree. The very bottom layer for the trunk, this one will glue on. Then the next bit, I don't want it to end up too thick, so I'm also going to glue this one. You could foam square this bit if you want your tree to really stand out. Then the purple layer to do with foam squares. Line this up using the star as a guide. Then the 2 layers of the face will both be glued on. Green first. Then the black on top. And the star, use some foam squares for. Okay, there's the spooky tree and that next house all done. Just one house left to go. Here's our final house, and this has also got the trees on the right hand side. We'll start with the trees at the bottom. Glue the fence over on the left hand side. And then foam squares for, where is it? This bit here with the darker tree. Next, glue on the tree on the right hand side. Because this is so spiky and pointy on the edges, you might find that your card sort of curls a little bit like mine's done, but I think that adds to the spooky vibe that we've got going on. But if you don't like it, you can use scissors and trim those bits off. Then we've got the fence on the right hand side to glue on. Doesn't matter where you put it, as long as it fits. And then the 2 crosses. And we've got our house. There's nothing to go behind this window because it will show the blue through. Glue this on. Next up, the darker purple, also to glue. Then we've got the roof piece. This one here with foam squares. Then we've got this piece, which has got quite a few bits to go underneath it. First up, we've got a green square to go around the circular window. Then for the door, there's this orange bit. Turn that upside down first. Add a glue around the little hole in there. And put the small yellow rectangle. And then we can add the glue around the hole on the purple. And I'm going to do like we did on the other one. Do it this way round to make sure that the yellow appears in the middle. Like that. Then the whole thing gets glued onto the front of the house. Then this one also to glue. Just the tiny bits left now. We've got chimney, bit to go under the window, the roof, and the steps. Oh, and I missed one. There's also a little triangle to go above the door. I'll need some more skinny foam squares for that. Stuck to my finger. Right. Last house done. That's all of them now. That means it's time to start with the base. So now things are going to get big. The very bottom layer of the sign will be done using the lighter orange colour. Each of these pieces has got a number in the bottom, so you know which order it goes in. There'll be 3 bits along the top and 3 along the bottom. I'll start with number 1, and then the next one along the top will be number 2. The triangles are so that you can line them up exactly over each other. You can either line one up, glue it down, and then move on to the next one. Or you can get them all in place on your work surface and then pick them up and start gluing them one at a time. It's up to you, it doesn't really matter. I am going to do it this way around, I think. So add the glue so it comes out just further than those triangles. Don't go out much further than that at all, otherwise your overlap won't cover your glue. And then, this is my bit with the 2 on. Line up those triangles. Don't push down too hard or your glue might smush out, but do make sure those triangles are as perfectly lined up as you can possibly make it. If you get your base out, it means the other pieces won't fit on top. So really take your time with this orange section, it's important. Okay, then next we've got 3, which will go on top so I can line those ones up. This is where you really get a feel for how big the project is going to be. All the numbers and triangles will be hidden by other layers that go on top, so you won't see those on the final paper craft. Okay, then I'm going to go to number 4. This one goes underneath. So we've got these triangles here. This time the glue will go just over them, ending up with a nice straight line down this left-hand side. Then number 5, we've got lots of triangles to line up this time. So we're putting on glue in 2 places. And then lastly, number 6. Now we've ended up with the base all stuck together. And what I'm going to do now is just give it 5 minutes and wait for that glue to really dry before trying to do anything else, because I don't want to accidentally move this about and move any of it while the glue is dry so that it comes out of position. So what we'll do, wait for that glue to dry, go have a little break, because if you've been crafting without a break since we started this, you've already been going for quite a long time, and then we'll come back to it and make it a little bit stronger on the back. Now my glue's all dry, I'm going to turn this over to strengthen up the join lines. This step is optional, but I do recommend it. So this is now upside down. I've got some regular sticky tape. I'm going to go down all the joins with tape to make sure it's really, really secure. It doesn't matter if you go over any of the holes or the numbers, because they're going to get covered up from the front anyway. Right, that is now super sturdy. Turn it back round and now we can start building up the next layers, which are the mountains on top. And this time it comes in 4 pieces. Once again, we're going to glue these bits together, all 4 of them, and then when that glue is completely dry, we'll attach it to the sign using foam squares to start building up some dimension. What you can do, if you find it easier for the gluing, is to line these up against your base piece. Just then you definitely know you've got that bottom edge straight. We need that to be straight for it to stand up nicely. And you've also got the triangles on this piece to know where to line those up. Ignore any of the triangles on the bottom orange. It's only the ones on this darker colour we're worried about now. If you're worried about getting glue on your base, or if you just don't want to get confused by doing them one on top of the other, then you can move your base out of the way and just focus on the mountain pieces. That's those 4 bits done. While that glue's drying, I'm going to glue the purple pieces on top. And these will make up the sort of hill along the bottom. I don't have numbers cut out of these ones because otherwise you'd be able to see it from the front. So instead you can use the tops along the darker orange to know where to line it up. So the tree's obvious, this one's quite obvious. Oh, she says, and then puts it in the wrong place. Nope, that was right. There's that one, and then the very left one has got the little spiky bit on there, and then this one would be your next one. This time the overlap is a lot less, so we need to be a little bit more careful when gluing. And this is going to be easier, I think, without this in the way. Gluing the whole thing to the orange. I did that really badly. It doesn't matter because this is going to be covered up anyway. For the second bit, because there's not a lot of context of where to stick that one, I'm going to do that one last. Move on to the one on the right hand side next. Then the bit with the tree. Make sure your bottom line is really nice and accurate, which that definitely wasn't, so I've just moved it. Still haven't done that overly accurate. I'm sure it'll be okay. And then the last one. This one's the hardest to line up because there's not a lot to go with, but you've got these two sort of sticky out bits to use as a guide. And there's that. So now the orange will have dried. We can turn it over. Add some sticky tape down all these join lines again. And then foam squares time. If you've got any slightly bigger ones, now's a good time to use them. I'll probably use a whole pack just on this piece of card. It's going to need a lot to make sure it goes on well. For the smaller bits, like these sticky out triangles, I'm going to use my regular smaller foam squares just to make sure they've got something on them. In fact, I might even need more than one pack to get all of this done, but we shall see. Right, that wasn't as bad as I thought. I've still got half a pack left, so I thought I was going to need more than a whole pack, but I've only gone for half in total. So now what I'm going to do is pause my video, get all of those tops of the foam squares peeled off, and then we'll see about putting it onto the base. Right, that was a mission. These are all nice and sticky. So it's time to get the base back. There it is. And then stick this on. The most important bit to line up is the bottom. We want it nice and straight. So I'm going to use that as my guide. Gently drop down. There we go. That's looking good. And then push down, give it a good rub. Get those foam squares stuck. See, now we've got most of those triangles and all the numbers covered over. We've just got one triangle left to do, and that'll be covered over by one of our clouds. We can do those next. So we've got tops of the mountains, 4 of these, and then 3 clouds. Where should we put them? There we are. And 4 bats. Okay. And I've lost my foam squares. Here they are. For this bit, it's probably easier to look at your assembly guide or the screen in Design Space to see exactly which cloud to put where. But I can see this one. This is going to go over that hole. You can either glue it or use foam squares. If you use foam squares, you might see a little bit of the hole through. if you look at it from a certain angle, but I think it'll be okay. Just don't put any of your foam squares where the hole is, otherwise you'll stick it to your work surface. Put it over there, and then that last triangle magically disappeared. It doesn't really matter too much where you put the clouds. Try and get them fairly accurate to the design. So the next one is around about here. We've also got our moon, which will need to go on. That'll overlap somewhere around there. And then the other cloud for the right hand side. That one. For the moon, foam square it about 2/3 of the way up. I didn't include the outline of the moon on the base so that you can choose where you want to put it. Or you could choose to leave it off if you prefer not to have it. Go about there. And then glue the scary face on top. I'm going to glue my bats because they are quite small. I'm not sure I could get the foam squares under there. Again, I'm looking to my left where my computer screen is to try and put these in the right place, but it doesn't matter. Wherever you want to put them is just fine. If you wanted more, you could cut some more bats to fill in some more of the sky if you wanted to. And then we've got the mountain tops. These will all be foamed on, but I want to put them in the right position first to make sure I put the right ones on the right mountains. That's that one. I think that's that one. The really spiky one is that one. And then that's that one. That's the background all done. Now we can start building up the rest of the sign. Now we're going to start building up some of the bits along the bottom. You've got 3 white rectangles, all with the numbers nice and parallel to the bottom, and the arrows, the triangles, have got the point at the top. You've also got 3 other white rectangles which are the same size, but on these ones the numbers are all at an angle and the triangles are pointing downwards. Keep the ones that are at an angle off to one side for the minute, and we'll start with the ones where the numbers are kind of the correct way against the bottom. What we need to do is build up some layers along the bottom so that once we've got all of our houses in place, the sliding cat can still move in front of them without getting caught on all those layers. So first up, just like we've done for the other bits, we're going to glue these 3 pieces together using the triangles to line them up, and then using the bottom of the sign as a guide to make sure we've got that bottom line nice and level. So it goes right over, line it up straight, and then the third one goes over on here. If you find that your side is going out over the edge of your sign a little bit, you can push it in to match the edge of your sign, and it doesn't matter too much if that final triangle isn't lined up. It's better to have it neat on your edges, as that's the bit you'll actually notice. Now that they're glued, I'm going to add my foam squares to the back and then foam square these to the bottom of the sign. This is where we'll be using up the rest of the sheet of foam squares. One thing I've just thought about for this one is we actually don't want any foam squares over any of the gaps Otherwise the sliding cat might get caught on them, get stuck to the gaps. Now these are all nice and sticky. Let's line it up and drop down. Try not to pull it really tight, otherwise you might end up warping the card a little bit. Just a gentle drop down, and that is what it looks like. Next up, we're going to do exactly the same with the purple strips. So first glue all the strips together so that the triangles line up, and then attach them onto the sign using foam squares. I'm not going to show you those steps again because it's exactly the same as what we've just done for this white one. So I'm going to pause my recording, get those stuck on, and then we'll carry on. My purple strip is now on there. Now it's time for the fun bit of adding all the pictures. These will need to go on in a certain order to make sure they all sit in nicely with each other. We'll start by just placing them in the right positions though, just to double check everything's going to go on there nicely. So our order is trees on the left, then the first house, then put in the house on the far right. Then we're going to go over here with this one, and then the tree and this ghost will go on last. I won't put that in yet because it'll mean that I can't pick up the other two. Okay, so that's all going to go nicely, and then all these will be glued in place, starting with these trees. You can line it up using the point where it comes out in the purple, and then it will sit flush up against these strips we've just put along the bottom. And next up is this house. Again, you've got the slight sticky out bit to know where to put the roof. The steps will be taller than our base, but that's okay, we're going to fix that. Well, not fix it, but build around it in a little while. Then next up we'll do the ones on the very right hand side. Then we've got this house to go on next, and it will overlap the fence a little tiny bit. You've got the ghost here to know where to put it. It starts coming together so quickly once the houses go on. And then finally this one. So this will overlap the fence here and here, and the bits of the tree will also slightly overlap this house. I just put it into place so you can see that's how it's going to end up looking. Oh, that looks so good. I'm so happy with how that looks. Very spooky looking Halloween village. Okay, almost there now. We've just got to finish the strip at the bottom. Next up, you've got the 3 numbered pieces that have got the numbers at a slight angle, and the arrows, I keep calling them arrows, the triangles are pointing downwards. This is going to work exactly the same as the others. So once again, I'll pause my camera and do this off camera so that the video doesn't end up being too much longer for you. So we'll glue the pieces together, making sure those triangles line up. And then, just like before, if your triangles don't line up, it's more important to have it nice on your edges. So as long as it's straight along the bottom and straight down the sides, we're all good. Glue it into place, turn it over, and use foam squares to attach it to the bottom. We're now so nearly there. We've got to do the strip with all the numbers to go along the bottom, and then the cat with all the little pieces that will show up in the numbers when you're moving it throughout the month. You've got these 3 pieces, they've got score lines on them, and that's going to show us where to stick and where to fold. This is going to be pretty impossible to show on camera, but the middle piece is the one where you've got two teeny tiny score lines about an inch in on both sides, and that's your middle one. And then the two end ones, you've got a score line along the bottom, and then there'll be one down one side. If you've got the score line on the right, so you've got a tiny little tab here, that one goes on the right hand side, and the one with the tiny tab on the left goes on the left hand side. And we're going to glue these up to those tiny scores, tiny score lines in this piece. Putting my glue just before it gets to those score lines. That's the second one. And I'm actually going to put them on here just to make sure it's absolutely right. And then that will line up with my end there, which is the important bit. There we go. Next up, we're going to glue this on top of here to hide all of our cutout numbers, and make sure the side with the scored lines is facing upwards. These scored lines are our guidance of where we're going to glue the number pieces on top, and it's really important when you do those that you don't glue too high, otherwise your cat won't be able to move to mark off the numbers. So you need to be able to see those score lines. Turn that over, and you could foam square it if you want to bring it out a little bit even further. At the moment we're level with the highest point on these buildings, which is the steps, and I think that should be fine because this will basically sit here and it should skim over, but it's getting caught a little bit. So it's up to you. I think actually foam squaring this bit's going to make more sense, because otherwise your cat might end up getting caught under some of the little pieces. So ignore what I just said about the glue. We're going to foam square it instead. You still want the score lines to be on the side that will be facing upwards when we're done. Put this one, we'll foam square. I'm sure I remember working out that this needed to be foam squared, but I never write anything down. I just kind of rely on the fact I'm going to remember all the steps, and sometimes it takes a little bit to jog my memory. But luckily we got there before I glued it on. Otherwise I'd have been recutting these pieces. Okay, that's going to be easier now. See how much easier that was than what I was doing a minute ago? It's not going to get caught anymore. Okay. Maybe on these joint bits, but hopefully not, because we won't be going backwards, we'll only be going that way, and it will still be able to lift over them. But it's not getting caught in the houses anymore, so that is good. Right, next we've got the numbers. Let's get these in the right order. There'll be some overlap. For example, we've got an 8 on both of these pieces. There we go. So we can glue these as we go. Do not glue these to the white, otherwise your cat will not be able to move. We're just gluing the pieces together as a whole. So the purple's going to go on top of the teal colour. And I'm going to go down to just past that 8. Put the spiky layer, the one with the diagonal lines, on top to help bring in the pattern. Then the next one is the blue. The 14 will overlap with the 14 there. Then we've got the 20. And then the last piece. Now we're going to glue this onto here, but really important, only glue up to the score lines on all 3 sides. Don't glue any further, and in fact it's probably best not to glue right up against the score line, kind of go in the middle of the bottom of the card and where that score line is, because when you put your piece on it will smush the glue out a bit, and no glue can go above that score line. Important. We're basically making a giant pocket here. Push down gently. Again, we don't want that glue smushing out to go above the score line. Then we'll leave that to dry. While that's drying, build up the cat. Last pieces! Woohoo! Okay. So we've got 3 of these, which will all be glued together to make it a little bit stronger. Oh, I could zoom in a bit now so you can see what I'm doing a little easier. I had my camera as zoomed out as it could possibly go and only just fit the sign in. Okay, so these are quite simple. Just glue the 3 bits one on top of the other, making it nice and sturdy because this will be moved every day. I don't want it to break or bend. Of course you could do what I did and just bend it by trying to stick it together. Then next up we've got this green bit. This will go on with some foam squares at the top, and then the bottom bit leave unstuck. It's going to slightly overlap on the base. Where are my smaller foam squares? So we only need a couple up in the top like that, and then a couple sort of just underneath it. So now we've got this, and now we're going to put the cat on top, but only glue the bit where you've got that foam square layer on. So only glue down to that taller bit, and then the cat will overlap that slightly. Now I've made a slight error here. I forgot not to glue where the eyes are going to be, because that should be showing the green through as his eyes, and now it's showing the white of my glue. But the glue will dry clear, so it'll be fine. But when you glue it, remember not to glue the eyes. Never mind. Then take your sign, and where we've made our pocket, slide the cat in, and then lift it up where we didn't glue that bottom, and then that will tuck over the top, being quite gentle with it. You see that slid over like that, so it kind of went down and then over there. And now you can slide that along to mark the days, or you can lift it in and out for each day. It's up to you how you prefer to do it. Lifting in and out might be a little bit easier, but it does slide. So it would start down here on number 1, although it's not quite going to overlap on number 1 because of our edge. And you push it down across all the days, and when it gets to number 2 you'll find you can push it down a bit more, so it will come down and overlap. And then each day it's just a little bit of moving to fill in the number as you go all the way through October to Halloween. So there we go, we did it! If you've made it all the way to the end, well done. Your giant Halloween countdown sign is now all finished. I hope that you enjoyed this video on how to make this absolutely enormous Halloween calendar from cardstock. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and free SVGs. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 2 of the Halloween craft countdown. I hope I haven't scared you away with this project. As I said right at the beginning, the next one's not so bad as this one. In fact, I think this is probably the most time-consuming project of the whole countdown, which is why I wanted to get it out the way first to make sure you've got loads and loads of time to make it all up before Halloween. Thank you so much for watching along with me, and let me know in the comments underneath the video if you're going to be giving this gigantic paper craft a try. Bye!